Hey, what's up, people? Got this Braun flashlight that a friend and I were using. I was helping him work on one of his vehicles, and it turns on. You can see by the indicator. It's supposed to have two light levels, but when we click the switch, nothing comes on. The LEDs do not turn on. And this is like a flashlight from Harbor Freight. It's got the adjustable head, and it's got the magnet mount, so you can put it anywhere and light it up. They're pretty handy to have, but unfortunately, if it doesn't light up, then it's totally useless. So let's see if we can figure out what went wrong with the light and why it's not lighting up. And this is actually a two-piece unit. If you're not familiar with these, it's got this ring that you can pull, and then the flashlight, actually head where the LEDs are, actually comes off from the battery base. And if we measure inside, we've got a barrel connector on the base, and then we have the female end on the top of the where actual LEDs are. And I have already measured the voltage on that little barrel plug. So if I put the negative towards on the outside, and I put the positive right in the middle, we can see that we have battery voltage coming out of there, so 3.6 volts. So that's working. So it does output something when you turn it on. So I believe the problem is going to be on the head part. So this only has a few screws. It's got two there and one inside of that hole. And also on the bottom, there's this little ring that it's like we can remove by turning this. Yeah, so there we go. There's the barrel. Oh, I think I can already see the problem. Oh, actually, no, never mind. I was thinking that that tab had broken off from this outer barrel piece, but no, it looks like that's the actual contact that makes contact with the barrel connector inside of the base. So I don't think that's going to be it, unless it just, for some reason, wasn't contacting very well. I'm going to just kind of tension it a little bit and put this back on. Let's try it again. Let's see if that does it for whatever reason. This might be a quick video. All right, did that work? Let's see. I'm just going to aim the flashlight down. Nope, that didn't do it. That feels really loose, though, so I'm wondering if maybe there's like a wire inside that broke or something. Does this come out? Yeah, it does. Oh, there's some wires. Oh, look at that. I think we found the problem. This... Oh, never mind. I thought that was going to come off, like, easily, but there must be something inside of this heat shrink. Wonder if there's a resistor inside or something. Well, let's take the rest of this apart then and see what's all in there. All right, so I took the rest of the screws off, hoping that maybe it'd get me somewhere, but this piece down at the bottom still doesn't want to come out. Okay, I'm going to desolder the wires off of this connector. Then maybe I can pull the LEDs off of the other side. Okay, so these are just soldered on one side, so I'm just going to heat them up. And of course, I forgot to change the tip. I have the smallest tip on here, so well, it's working. So just got to remember that the one with the heat shrink was the center, the pin, and then the one that didn't have a heat shrink is the outer part of the barrel jack. There we go. It's going. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but it's going. I wish this would come out. This would make my life so much easier. There we go. After some pulling, it finally came out. I did have to take the heat shrink off, and there was nothing in the heat shrink. It was just the wire itself. Oh, it comes off the other way. You pull it on this side. There we go. All right, what are we going to find inside? Well, there's not a whole lot going on in here. I mean, that all looks like it's soldered properly. So I'm wondering if there's an internal failure on this. It's basically what they call a cob. It's a chip on board. So all those LEDs are mounted to this plate, and then they're usually connected like, I don't know, these are probably all going to be like in parallel or something. So you'd think that if like one died, at least, maybe a few of the other ones would still operate. The only other thing I can think of is that maybe this wire is broken internally. So let's see what happens if we feed 3.6 volts directly into the terminals. Maybe that'll get it working. Okay, I've got 3.6 volts at these clips, and I'm just going to try to touch them to the board. Oh, it turned on. So, okay. I think one of these must be broken. Let's check continuity. Okay, let's check the positive. So I'm just going to touch from one side to the other. And that one has continuity. I need to change the range on this so it doesn't take forever to come up. There we go. And let's check the black one. That seems to have continuity. Okay, so just for fun, I decided to solder the wires back onto the barrel jack, and then I'm going to put it on the plug. And now, when I turn it on, it turns on. So what the heck is going on? Why isn't that not working when it's completely reassembled? That makes no sense. So yeah, that's a high, that's a low and then high. So yeah, that's working. And I've removed it once again from the connector. But as you can see, it's not the wiring, because if there was something wrong with the wiring, when I pull on this, it would be affected. And neither a wire, when I pull on it, affects the light output. It's still, the LEDs remain on. So it's not the wiring. Well, I don't know then. I guess maybe the wiring to this connector just wasn't soldered on properly or something. And maybe it was just kind of dangling by a thread that wasn't making any contact. I have no idea. I'm just going to reassemble it and we'll see if it works again. Okay, the hardest part is going to be trying to get these wires to go back through, because it was a bit of a tight fit and there's no way that I'm going to be able to push them through and make them come out the other end. So I think what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to take a couple pieces of wire from a Cat 5 cable. So I'm just going to solder the ends to the two wires, and I think that should allow me to at least maybe push it through. All right, two things. One, my plans to try to get a wire in from the top side of this piece down into the other side, it's not going to work at all. There is like no way to get this wire to go through. And I even tried using something skinnier, like some Kynar wire, and this, I can't even get it to go through either. And the problem is that the wires don't come out the bottom of this piece. What they have to do is that they come inside. It's got to come out the side, down, and back into the center like that. So I'm having a hard time trying to get a wire to make that turn, and it's just not happening. And then the other thing is that the issue was staring me in the face the entire time, and I totally didn't even think about it. I realized that this is what's bad. And it's not that it wouldn't make good contact, is that it's broken. So this piece I thought was just something that kind of sat on top and, just made, like filled up that hole there for when this was inserted. But the thing is, this piece, as you can see, there's plastic in there, is part of that inner assembly, that piece. So that's broken off there. As you can see, if I put that up to there, then it's like it's whole again. So I guess the way this was assembled is that this piece was inserted into this outer sleeve, and then this outer ring was crimped to that plastic. So this was supposed to be one entire assembly, but because this part broke off, then this is free to move in and out. So when we put the top portion of the flashlight into the base, what ends up happening is that this part gets pushed out, so it doesn't make contact with the barrel connector at all. And that's why the flashlight's not turning on. So taking this thing apart was completely unnecessary when the issue was right there the entire time. So I'm going to have to find a way to adhere this to the rest of this sleeve. I'm guessing I could probably just take like some CA glue, put it on there, and then stick this back on. And that should be sturdy enough that this is not going to come apart easily, because once it's connected to the base, I mean, it should stay intact. It's not going to like easily come apart or anything. So we'll deal with that in a little bit. But I had to figure out a way to get the wire to go from one side to the other, because I thought, man, this sucks. And then that's when it hit me. Wait a second. What if I take a piece of string and try to suck it through with a vacuum? Well, that's exactly what I did. So I took a little vacuum and I put the piece into the end of the attachment, and I just kind of sealed it shut with like using my hand. I had my kid help me with this the first time around just to make sure that it would work. And then once I pulled the trigger and the vacuum is like sucking air through, I figured if I take a piece of string and I put it inside the hole, any part where there's going to be airflow, the string should hopefully get pulled through. And sure enough, it did, and it worked. So I'll show you real quick what I did. This time, though, I'm just going to do it by myself. So I'm going to wrap some of this paper towel around the end of the part, and then I'm just going to jam that into this attachment. And I'm going to try to do it like this so that it's easy to see what's going on. So put the end of the string into the hole, and then I'm going to turn on the vacuum, and I got to let it go in there. Okay, this is kind of difficult to do when I'm trying to show what I did, but there we go. It got sucked through. So now I can pull this off, and as we can see, the string came out the other side. So now I've put this piece of Kynar wire that I tied to the end of it. I just kind of twisted it so it made a little bit of like an eye, and then I wrapped I put the string through it, tied it. Now I can pull this piece of wire through, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the other end and solder it to one of the wires, and then I can use that to guide it through the opening. So I got to get another piece of string inside, and this time I got to make it go through the other side, because this one went through this side of this part. And I believe the way it was that one wire ran in one direction, the other wire ran in the other direction. So I'll see if I can get the string to go through the other side. Okay, looks like I was wrong. I thought that there was going to be like one opening going in this direction and the other one going in this direction, but it looks like there's only one opening, because the other piece of string, it kept wanting to go in the same direction, even though I was trying to directed it to going this way. It kept wanting to go that way. So I guess that's the only side that has an actual opening. So these wires I'm going to pull all the way through. So I'll need to solder this side to the existing wiring on the LED assembly. And then I got to pull those through. And that's, if you want to kind of see how I did that there, that I wrapped the wire, kind of looped it around itself, and then I tied these strings to the ends. So I'm going to clip these off and then just tin them a bit, solder them to these, and then I should be able to pull them through. Okay, so I've got those soldered, and let's try to pull it through now, see if this is going to work. Hopefully it does, because I was expecting this to be like maybe a 10-minute job, and it's already been quite a bit of time now trying to get this done. And I can kind of feel it trying to go through, but I don't want to pull too hard so that I don't break the wire. Trying to pull it through, get stuck somewhere in the middle. If I can just sort of guide these a bit, try to get them to go in that direction. They're going. Oh, that was so much easier. All right, so change of plans. I severely struggled trying to get this through. And at one point, I almost had the black one all the way through, and the Kynar wire broke. And so I grabbed it with some of the forceps, and I ended up just pulling the jacket off. And I still could not get the red one through. So I decided to go with a thinner diameter or a thinner gauge wire, but it should still work adequately. And this I was able to completely get all the way through. So I'll solder this end to where the LEDs are. And then, as you can see, I've already got it all the way through. So, yeah, if I would have known that the issue was going to be on this end, I would not have pulled this through. It's a pain to try to get back in. And I'm sure that they probably assemble all this. And then this looks like it might be like press fit into this outer sleeve. So, I mean, when it's taken apart, I'm sure it's a lot easier to get the wires through. Not after you've taken them out, when it's already been assembled. All right, and there we go. Finally put back together. And might as well just put these screws back on. Okay, so I've soldered the wires back onto the barrel connector. And I put some heat shrink on them too, but I haven't heat shrunk it yet. I want to test to make sure that this is going to work, but I mean, it should, since that was the only issue. Turn this down so you don't get blinded. All right, so if we hit the switch, yep, it's working. So that was the issue. that barrel connector is not going all the way down onto the barrel plug. So yeah, I'm going to shrink the heat shrink. So now we got to put this piece back together. Oh, and I left quite a bit of slack on the wire. That way I can tuck it inside and it won't be like too tight when this thing gets like pulled or moved in one way or the other. So hopefully it should prevent like that wire from breaking too prematurely. And I'm just going to wipe the outside of this with some IPA because I have been touching it. So there could be a lot of grease left on it. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to clean the inside of the sleeve just a bit. Just wipe it down. Okay, so this goes on like that. So I'm just going to put some adhesive around the outside of the plastic parts. And my bottle is clogged, like always. Okay, annoyingly, I didn't realize that I had accidentally turned off my microphone from the button on the Stream Deck, but I got this nice and secure now. And I think maybe part of the reason why the barrel connector broke in the first place was because this ring was loose when I first opened it up. So I think maybe it got dropped or something, and because that connector was loose, it caused it to like maybe get a little jarred a little too hard, and it cracked it. But it's totally fine now. I made sure that this ring is nice and secure. And so that should not come apart anytime soon. And if we plug it back into the base, we can see that it lights up again. So it's working totally fine. And with all that, that's going to do it for this one. If you've got one of these that the base, the button turns on, but we get nothing at the light, then it could be that it's just a problem with the barrel connector, just like this one was. And kind of annoying that I ended up taking it apart more than I really needed to. This could have been like like a 2-minute job or something, just gluing that connector back together. But I mean, what are we going to do? So if you made it to the end, thank you for watching once again. I will see you guys around the bench.